Hello, we will title this post Alchemy of Emotions. And this one also came from a conversation with another lovely friend of mine. I feel like I'm going to let that happen more and more when I'm being told that perhaps there should be a post. That may be a sign that many of us could use that type of conversation. So here I am, hopefully conveying the heart of what was discussed. Alchemy of Emotions. We were discussing the challenge of changing oneself, changing our reactions to situations that are triggers, situations that usually, most of the time, will have a, let's call it a beginning point, way back then, way before this particular situation that you are being triggered by existed. So way back then something happened. It meant whatever it meant at the time. You reacted in whatever way you needed to react at the time. At the time it seemed appropriate, or that's all you could do. Often if we were very young, a young age, it's all we knew how to do. Whatever emotional outburst, repression, lies, distractions, avoidance, pushback, running away. So whatever emotions fit in those kind of patterns and then some, sometimes it stays with us. And then much later on, we are confronted with situations, whether they're quite challenging or whether they're quite benign. If we were going to take the charge out of it, we would realize that they were benign. There was not a big deal, but our reaction conveyed quite the opposite. So whether this event, this situation that triggers you is a potent event, or whether it's more benign, more casual, lighter, but somehow you know that there's a charge to it, that it gets to you in such a way that is destructive to yourself. It's destructive to your ability to move through the situation and find a mutual beneficial solution. Whether you notice that it makes other people react back at you in a very big way, or avoid you completely. That's usually a pointer, a cue that there's something else going on here that has nothing to do with that individual or that situation. So when your partner, let's take a lover or a husband, fiancé, when your loved one, when your partner will approach you and say something, trying to convey his or her emotions in such a way that you feel quite rejected, and then you react quite strongly against what that person is saying. And I was saying, sometimes it's so useful to remember the message behind the screaming or the tone or the eyes rolling or the body retracting and communicating that it is not wanting to be around you, be working things with you. It's making a separation more obvious. Because we can only, I just cut here, if we could only take responsibility for ourselves, right? Take responsibility for our reaction without asking approval from your partner. So understanding that there's nothing we can do to this individual past, what he, she is supposed to go through, what her or his own unfolding requires it to be in order for them to learn the lessons that they need to really embody, and then be a person that will create more harmony in the world than disharmony. we can't know that for them. So we can't say what to do, what not to do. We definitely, though, can own our own way of communicating and reacting to others. So it's very important when testing this, what I'm about to discuss, to not do it in order to have an approval rate with the other person. Their reaction, whether they hear you or not, whether they remain there with you and work through the situation or not, whether they storm away or not, it's important to know that you're not responsible for that, and you cannot decide how to be in order to get the positive, affirmative, you are fantastic kind of response. You have to be willing to let that be what it is. If you want that relationship to be based on honesty and integrity and authenticity, 3 big words, very, very challenging to live that. Whoops, sorry about that. Okay, good, it stopped. So in order to live this situation differently, you need to remain an observer and not an observer in a detached, unloving way. It's the opposite. To know that there's enough love there to allow that to coexist, to be there with you without needing to fix it in order for you to feel better. That's a big one. I hope I was clear with that one. Pretending to want to fix them for them to be better when it's really wanting to fix them in order for you to be more comfortable with the situation. That's huge. And so once you can allow them that freedom internally, not verbalizing it necessarily, but internally understand that you're about to let them have that freedom, you love them enough for that, and then you own your reaction. So you hear what they have to say, you feel the extreme reaction. So whatever you're about to respond will be like a bullet, pow! And of course, this is how they're going to react, whether they are stoic and don't show it to you, however they decide to. When you throw a bomb at someone, it's a bomb, and it has an impact. So realizing, do you want to create such an impact in the other? Would you want to have that bomb come at you? Whatever words come with that bomb, would you want to receive it that way? And if the answer is no, then if you can in a moment to allow yourself to take a breath, once again the famous breath, feel these feelings, put them aside for now. Not repressing it, but putting it aside just for a moment. And then hear the words. Have a sense of what they're trying to convey to you. And often it will have to do with not feeling good enough, not feeling supported, afraid of rejection, afraid of being left, low self-worth, and a deep need to connect, even though it may be projected at you as if they're disconnecting. But behind that, there's a real need to connect. And if there isn't, then going about this conversation this new way will allow you to get there, to get to the truth of, do we really want to remain connected in this way together? You'll get to that truth faster, more efficiently, with more kindness and more communication, which if there is a split to be had at whatever level, it will be done with more harmony, kindness, and ease and grace, and you can remain friends after, whatever the unfolding of that situation is for you. But put these emotional reaction, these bullets, these bombs to the side. Take a breath and try to hear the message behind it. Whether it's exactly the words that they're using, what they're communicating, but what's behind it as well. It takes being humble. It takes a real sense of wanting to be that kind of person, wanting to be a kinder person, wanting to stop the violence, wanting to know thyself, to know what you are behind the accumulation of history. To be curious what it would feel like not to constantly be moved and rocked back and forth through these reactions, through these unconscious emotions. Because emotions are not bad. They are also there to teach you something. So there will be a point where it may be very useful to now look at these emotions, whether you do it with this partner or whether you do it by yourself or a therapist or a dear friend that you trust, a friend that's capable of being honest with you in a loving way. Someone who has earned that right to have your heart wounded and open and vulnerable and hear you, tell you the truth in a kind way, in a supportive way. You have to earn that, I believe. Not because you're bad if you haven't earned it, but again, that's another aspect of owning oneself. Who do you reveal yourself to like that? And if you reveal yourself to most everyone, you can't be that shocked if the feedback is not that great or that useful, or create a reaction in you that was not at all what you were looking for to learn through sharing. So owning oneself, to know who to open yourself to. Not that they are not good enough, but for you to have enough self-worth to feel that you are worthy of a kind ear. It's very different than saying you're not good enough. Once again, the alchemy, the ability to transmute your own way of judging everybody else as opposed to owning yourself. So there may be a place and a time where you want to then look at these emotions that you sort of said, okay, I hear you, I feel you. Right now it's not going to be enhancing for me to talk through you, but I hear the message behind the emotions, and I also want to hear the message behind his or her emotions. What is the message? And then you can take these emotions back at some point and you can look at that kindly, with deep love, appreciation for your ability to do that, and in your desire to not live from that place constantly, which create a lot of dis-ease within yourself, within your own body, your own heart, your own mind. So then you take those back and you look at the power, how strong they were. You can also compare, what this conversation would have become if you had solely trusted to react from these emotions, as opposed to taking your time here and own yourself. So the alchemy of emotions, the alchemy of something that seems terrible. Why? Why has it happened to me? That alchemy, the ability to see and to trust and to want to trust or to want to test drive that concept, that if it happens, there's something to be had in it. There's a lesson to be gotten from it. Do you want to test drive that theory? Do you want to try that on for a while and to see if it serves you? It is so easy to negate new ways, reject them on habit, and behind the habit, a deep fear to get to know thyself, the deep fear to change, the deep fear to indeed be an incredibly kind, compassionate human being that helps to change the world just by being different in your own skin, in your own self, and with each individual that you interact with. That's the best way to change the world, because then all our action come from a very different place with no expectation and no judgment on others. Then you create a real wave, a real change based on wanting harmony and a world where we are not self-destructive for ourselves, right? We are not self-destructive, yes. So I'm able to apply it more now. I'm able to I think not apply it more as much as that deep desire to not harm others and not harm myself, to not use myself that way. This is wear and tear on our beingness to behave that way, and I think a lot of us feel that. And even though it seemed like it was out of topic, the challenge of the world, meaning it's so challenging for me to find a healthy snack for my kid. I end up creating them, or I look a long time to find snacks that are yummy but good for him. This looking for the wood floor cleaner was so challenging. It took so long. I went to a website and I checked it out and the rating, and realized that a lot of stuff I thought was good once again was not that good. I constantly have to renew my learning and my understanding. And so we created a world, I believe, out of this place that's not so peaceful, that is now reflecting that back to ourselves. So we will be challenged by things constantly, but by not running away from that challenge, by understanding that we created all that stuff, our relationship, our situation, the world itself, it is our creation. That's how powerful we are. So what do we want to create next? And the easiest, cheapest way, we don't need anything. You don't need to buy anything. You don't need to read any books. You can just do that. Just see if you can deal with your day-to-day relationships with yourself and others in a kinder way, in a more conscious way, taking your time. And you may find that there's a lot of fear behind doing that. A lot of fear of getting to know yourself. But those very things that you have to know are the things that we push back, we suppress so much for so long, and they get in our way. They get in our way. So even though it may be scary to honor that beat and take your time with how you handle other people, it's also the most liberating. And it makes others instantly happier right in front of your very eye. And that feels very good. To have the chance to it's rare in the world nowadays that you can have an instant gratification like that. And by instant, I don't mean that their reaction will necessarily be happy right there, right now, although it may, very often it does. But sometimes they may have to storm out. They may have to figure what this was all about. But somewhere, somehow in their heart, in their psyche, they will feel that space, that you allow them to be who they are, you allow them to express themselves, and you will feel that. And so the situation will unravel very differently. I hope this made sense. I hope this was interesting and hopefully be enhancing in your own life. Thank you.